Last night's episode of The View wasn't just a talk show, it was a battlefield and a jaw-dropping, heart-pounding confrontation that's already being called the Gervais reckoning. British comedian Ricky Gervais didn't just walk off the set. He left Whoopi Goldberg's moral credibility in tatters, exposed Hollywood's hypocrisy, and sparked a global firestorm that's still raging what started as a promotional appearance for Gervais' new Netflix special on mortality and meaning turned into a brutal no-holds barred takedown of The View's sanctimonious narrative when Whoopi accused Gervais of hiding cruelty behind comedy and claimed his atheism made him incapable of compassion. He didn't just defend himself, he unleashed a verbal massacre that left the studio silent, the internet ablaze, and ABC scrambling to contain the fallout erased the full unfiltered story of how one man's unapologetic truth shattered a talk show empire and ignited a movement for accountability to set up a trap waiting to spring the tension. Was palpable the moment Ricky Gervais stepped into ABC's New York studio. The 63-year-old comedian, known for his razor-sharp wit and fearless commentary, was there to promote his latest Netflix special, a raw exploration of life, death, and the search for meaning. But the producers of The View had other plans. According to a production assistant who spoke anonymously, Whoopi Goldberg had orchestrated a deliberate ambush. She wanted to take him down, the assistant revealed. She told us to focus on his mean-spirited atheism and push the narrative that his comedy is just cruelty in disguise. The warm-up audience coordinator was even more blunt, warning attendees to brace for fireworks and admitting that things might get uncomfortable. One senior producer reportedly begged Whoopi to reconsider, warning, "Ricky's going to eat you alive if you go there." Whoopi's response, a dismissive, "I've handled bigger egos," and as the stage was set for a clash of titans, Whoopi, armed with her self-proclaimed moral authority, was ready to paint Gervais as a heartless provocateur. But Gervais, ever the strategist, was one step ahead. His publicist later revealed that had predicted the exact line of attack. Watch, he told his team backstage, "They'll come for my atheism and say I lack empathy." As he waited in the wings, Gervais was seen scribbling notes while watching the monitor, his trademark smirk hinting at the storm he was about to unleash. When the cameras rolled, the show opened with its usual hot topic segment. But Whoopi's tone was pointed from the start. She made thinly veiled jabs about comedians who've forgotten the difference between humor and hatred, and people who mock faith because they have none. The audience prep for drama shifted uneasily backstage. Gervais' smirk widened. He knew exactly what was coming, and he was ready. The ambush. Whoopi fires the first shot. "Please welcome Ricky Gervais," Whoopi announced with a smile that barely masked her intent. Gervais strolled onto the set with deliberate nonchalance, his casual demeanor belying the intellectual arsenal he was about to deploy. He took his seat, water glass in hand, and leaned back as if he were settling in for a friendly chat. But the air was thick with tension, and everyone knew this was no ordinary interview. "Ricky, welcome to The View," Whoopi said, her voice dripping with forced warmth. "Your new special is certainly generating conversation. That's the point of comedy, isn't?" Gervais replied, his tone light, but his eyes sharp to make people think. Whoopi didn't waste a second. "There's thinking, and then there's hurting," she shot back, her voice hardening. "Don't you think you crossed the line from comedy into cruelty?" The studio fell silent. The audience held its breath. Gervais took a slow sip of water, his gaze never leaving Whoopi's. Then, with the precision of a surgeon, he delivered his first blow. "Interesting question from someone who defended Roman Polanski," he said casually, his British accent making the words cut deep. The room froze. Whoopi's face tightened, her eyes narrowing. "That's not what we're discussing," she said sharply. "Isn't?" Gervais countered, leaning forward. "We're talking about moral boundaries in entertainment. Seems pretty relevant that you said drugging and assaulting a 13-year-old wasn't rape, but please lecture me about crossing lines." The counterattack. Gervais goes nuclear. The silence in the studio was deafening. The other hosts, Joy Behar, Sonny Hostins, and Sarah Haynes, shifted uncomfortably in their seats, their eyes darting between Whoopi and Gervais. Whoopi's past defense of Roman Polanski, a director convicted of drugging and raping a 13-year-old girl in 1977, was a well-documented scandal, but it was rarely brought up so directly. Gervais didn't just bring it up, he weaponized it, exposing the hypocrisy at the heart of Whoopi's moral posturing. "We're talking about your comedy, not my past comments," Whoopi said, trying to steer the conversation back to safer ground. "Your past comments about defending a child rapist," Gervais interrupted, his voice calm but relentless. "Yes, let's definitely not talk about those while you question my moral compass." The audience gasped. Some clapped, nervously unsure whether to cheer or recoil. Whoopi's face flushed with anger, but Gervais was just getting started. "You mock people's faith," she pressed, pivoting to Her plan attack you laugh at their beliefs. How is that not cruel? Gervais leaned back, his signature laugh, escaping his lips. I mock ideas, not people. There's a difference between challenging beliefs and defending pedophiles. One encourages thinking, the other enables abuse. Joy Behar, sensing Whoopi was losing ground, tried to intervene. Ricky, that's a bit harsh, she said cautiously. Harsh? Gervais shot back, his tone laced with incredulity. She literally said a man who drugged and anally raped a child didn't commit rape. But I'm harsh for making jokes about imaginary friends in the sky. The audience erupted, some in laughter, others in stunned applause. Gervais stood up slowly, his movements deliberate, his voice steady. But Siren, you want to discuss cruelty? Let's discuss the cruelty of using your platform to minimize child rape. Let's discuss the cruelty of making victims feel. Their assault wasn't real rape. That's actual harm, not hurt feelings over jokes. Whoopi's authority was crumbling, and she knew it. Sit down, Ricky. She said, her voice shaking. We're having a conversation. No, Gervais replied, his tone now icy. We're having a hypocritical lecture from someone who's caused actual harm while pretending to be moral. I make jokes. You defended a predator. Which one of us should be ashamed? The bombshell, a devastating revelation. Just when it seemed the confrontation couldn't get more explosive, Gervais dropped a bombshell that changed everything. He looked directly at Whoopi, his eyes burning with intensity. You know what your former co-host told me. He said that you regularly shut down discussions about sexual abuse in Hollywood, that you protected multiple abusers because they're your friends, want to discuss that cruelty. Whoopi's face went from anger to fear. That's a lie, she said weakly, her voice barely above a whisper. Is it? Gervais shot back. Should we call Rosie O'Donnell? She's got recordings of you dismissing abuse allegations. But sure, let's talk about how my jokes are the real problem. The audience was stunned into silence. The mention of Rosie O'Donnell, a former View co-host known for her outspoken criticism of Hollywood's darker side, sent shockwaves through the room. If Gervais' claim was true, it suggested a pattern of complicity far beyond Whoopi's. Polanski comments, the other host sat frozen, unable to intervene. Whoopi desperate to regain control. Play her final card. You're just an atheist who doesn't understand compassion or forgiveness, she said, her voice trembling with defiance. Gervais laughed, a genuine, almost disbelieving laugh from an atheist who's raised millions for charity. You're a believer who defended a child rapist. Which one of us lacks compassion? The audience roared a mix of applause and gasps. Whoopi tried to counter faith, gives people hope, she insisted, and protecting abusers gives them permission. Gervais fired back, I'd rather destroy false hope than enable real harm. He stepped closer to Whoopi's position, his voice dropping to a deadly calm. You know what's really interesting? You claim faith and compassion while defending the indefensible. I claim nothing while actually helping people. Your God didn't stop you from defending a pedophile. My atheism didn't stop me from caring about his victim. Whoopi opened her mouth to respond, but Gervais cut her off. You don't understand complexity, she began. Of child rape, Gervais interrupted his sarcasm, slicing through the air. You're right. I don't understand the complexity. To me, it's simple: adult drugs and rapes child equals monster. But please explain the nuance. And missing. The audience laughed despite the heavy topic, a nervous release of tension. Sunny Hostins try to defuse the situation. Ricky, people can grow and change from past mistakes, she said softly as she Gervais asked, turning to her. Has she apologized to rape victims for minimizing their trauma? Has she acknowledged the harm of her statements, or has she just hoped everyone would forget? The question hung unanswered. Whoopi's silence was deafening. She couldn't respond without either lying or admitting fault. But Gervais wasn't done. He turned to the audience, his voice steady but urgent. Look, I know some of you are uncomfortable with direct truth, but there are people watching who've been silenced about abuse, who've been told their experiences weren't real enough. If that's you, share this moment, comment your support for survivors like this video, not for the drama, but to spread awareness that abuse is abuse regardless of who defends the abuser. Your engagement might help another survivor feel heard. Sometimes sharing difficult truths helps others find their voice. The audience response was electric. Many stood and clapped their applause, a mix of shock and admiration. Others sat in stunned silence, processing the weight of Gervais' words. Whoopi, now visibly shaken, tried one last time to regain control. Stop, she said quietly, her voice barely audible. Why? Gervais asked, his tone unrelenting. Because it's uncomfortable. Because truth hurts. You didn't stop when that child begged. You didn't stop when victims asked for justice. But now you want mercy. The parallels were brutal, undeniable. Whoopi mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. Gervais shook his head, his expression one of genuine disgust. I'm done with this show, he declared. Not because you don't forget to hit the notification bell to stay updated. Subscribe for more powerful video.